Okay. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm Hallie Hunt. I'm joined by Jennifer Wheeler, the project manager in the Dean of Students office, and Ezra Bakar, who is our administrative assistant. And I want to thank you so much for joining us on our very first episode of the Dean of Students Friday webinar series. The content that we present during these series are going to be based solely on the types of inquiries and requests that we receive in the Dean of Students office. And so right now, we are so glad that you're here to join us for this very important topic about filing an unemployment insurance claim. We've been receiving a lot of requests for information about this, and we want to make sure that we're able to meet your needs in a timely fashion. So thank you very much to Jennifer Wheeler, who has put this material together. There will be an opportunity for people to ask questions, and the way that you'll do that is through the chat box. So when you have a question, go ahead and ask it. Ezra is going to be the one moderating the chat, and the Q&A will happen at the very end. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Jen.
Thank you so much, Hallie. I'm excited to be here with you all today. I think this is such an important topic, and I'm glad that I can shed some light and give you some how-tos and helpful tips as we move forward. So this workshop is all about how to file for unemployment, what we refer to as an unemployment insurance claim in California. So before we really get into it, I want to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to talk about what unemployment insurance really is, who's eligible to receive it, when those eligible individuals should file, what information is needed in order to file, how to use the UI online system to file a claim, and that's going to include a step-by-step guide for you. We're going to talk about what to expect after you file, and then the most important part, receiving your benefits. And then finally, we're going to close out the presentation with some really helpful resources that will help you as you apply. So first, what is unemployment insurance? So you may have heard people refer to it as unemployment or unemployment benefits, receiving unemployment. What it is it's an employer-paid program that provides partial income replacement when you become unemployed or have your hours reduced and meet all eligibility requirements. So you don't have to be completely let go from your job in order to qualify to receive unemployment insurance. You may have just received a significant cut in hours that has reduced your income. You're still eligible to apply. And it's important to note that it's ran by the Employment Development Department, the EDD, as it will commonly be referred to in this presentation. And this is for the state of California specifically. So how do you know if you're eligible? So when you're filling out your unemployment insurance benefits, you must have earned enough wages during the base period to establish a claim. That section we'll go over in the next slide, so don't worry about that too much now. But you must also be totally or partially unemployed through no fault of your own. So you weren't fired and there was no disciplinary matter. You were just let go or furloughed, something along those lines. You must also be physically able to work, available for work, ready and willing to accept work immediately, and actively looking for work. So let's go over the whole piece about earning enough wages. How do you know if you've earned enough? So in order to qualify, you must have earned $1,300 in the highest quarter of your base period, or $900 in the highest quarter, and total base period earnings of 1.25 times your highest quarter earnings. So that is still really confusing. That doesn't clarify much for me, so let's break it down a little further. Your base period is a 12-month period of time, and each base period has 4 quarters. So each of those 4 quarters is 3 months. So to sum it all up and make it really easy to understand, if you've earned at least $1,300 over the course of 3 months within the last year, you are eligible. And it's important to note that this income doesn't have to come from just one job. You may have multiple part-time jobs that may add up to the $1,300. That qualifies you, okay? So now we've gone over what it is and if you're eligible, how do you know when to file? So you should file your unemployment insurance claim in the first week that you lose your job or have your hours reduced. You cannot preemptively file. So you can't file knowing that you're going to be losing hours or losing your job next week. You won't be able to file until after that's already taken effect. But once it does, you want to file immediately because your claim begins on the Sunday of the week that you submit your application. And right now, it's really important that we get those applications in as soon as possible, just because there's so many people applying for unemployment insurance. You want to make sure that you're getting in there quickly so you can get your benefits quickly. Waiting to file can delay your benefits. Just one thing to note as well, if you previously filed an unemployment insurance claim within the last 52 weeks, so the last year, and you haven't exhausted all of those benefits, you will need to reopen your claim to resume benefits. You won't be able to open a new claim. So now you know what it is, you know if you're eligible, you decided you want to apply, what kind of information do you need? So you'll need your personal information, including your name, your birth date, and your social security number. If you don't have a social security number, you can still file. You will just need information that you can find on your employment authorization document. So make sure you have all these items at hand because you'll need to reference them. You will also need information on all employers you've worked for during the last 18 months. And the information that you need for these employers is the company name, the address, the dates of employment, the total income earned, the hours worked per week, hourly rate of pay, and the reason you're no longer working. Now, for some of these items, you may not have the exact numbers. For example, hours worked per week. That's okay. I know a lot of individuals are working part-time jobs and the hours vary from week to week. Just try to get a good estimate, and that will do for this purpose. You may not also have all of your paychecks available to you, so you can add up the amount that you earned. What is really useful in this case is if you filed taxes last year, you should have a 1099 form. You can just use the income there. That will be the total income from the year. But what you can do is divide that into 4, and that will give you your quarters that you need, because there's 4 quarters that they're going to be asking you for within the last 12 months. And again, don't worry too much about making sure this information is perfect. Just try to get it as accurate as possible. All right, so there's actually 3 ways to apply for unemployment insurance. There's the online version, there's by telephone, and there's also by mail. Now, the EDD is really recommending that all individuals use UI online to apply. It's the fastest and quickest way to apply for insurance. At this time, the phones are really backed up, and we know with mail, it can just take a little longer. You have to send it out, wait for it to arrive, wait for it to be open and reviewed. So online is just really the quickest and easiest way to get this done. But what's important to note is with UI online, there are only specific times you can file a claim. These times are really broad, so it's likely that when you go to file a claim, it's within one of these times anyways. But if any reason it's not, and you receive an error message, just go ahead and check back at this and make sure that you're going on within some of these times. The one that I would point out is on Saturdays. It cuts off at 8 p.m. So if you're trying to apply late Saturday night, you won't be able to. You'll have to come back Sunday morning at 5 a.m. Okay, so let's go through the steps of how to use UI online. It's pretty user-friendly, but I want to give you a brief overview so you feel completely comfortable. Step 1 is to create a benefits program online login. For this, you'll need to provide a personal email, create a password, answer 4 security questions, and select a security image. The security questions are just to be used in case maybe you forget your password or you get logged out. That's when you'd be prompted to use those. So it's nothing you'd have to prepare for. It's just something you'll answer on the spot to be used later if needed. Step 2, once you have all that login information, you're gonna go ahead and use it to log into the benefits program online. Step 3 is that you're gonna select UI online. Step 4 is selecting file new claim. All right, and then it gets us to step 5 where we really have to start paying attention and taking some action. So the first thing that you're gonna do is review the instructions page. This page is gonna highlight everything that all the questions that you're gonna be answering moving forward, how to fill out the application. At the bottom, you're gonna need to click a checkbox, just acknowledging that you reviewed it, that you agree to the terms, and then move on to the next step. So step 6, once you've reviewed the instructions and approved, you're gonna go ahead and start answering the pre-claim questions. These are used so that the EDD can determine which claim is right for you. That way you don't have to think about it too much. They're gonna determine which claim you should file. Step 7 is to go ahead and fill out the personal information, the last employer information, employment history, and additional information tabs. During these tabs, this is when you're gonna be referencing the personal information, such as name, birth date, social security, and then also the employer information that we went over in the beginning with information needed. After you're done with that, it's gonna bring you to the summary tab. This gives you a really nice summary of everything you've filled out so that you can double check to make sure that information is accurate. Now, if you find an error or something that you're not sure how you want to answer, you're not ready to submit, that's fine. You can go ahead and save it and return anytime up until 8 p.m. on the Saturday of the week that you started the application. So if you started it on a Monday, you would have until that following Saturday at 8 p.m. to come back and submit. If you miss that deadline, that's okay. It's just you'll have to start over from the beginning and re-enter all of that information. So just be aware of that. Once you submit, it brings us to step 9, which is printing the confirmation page for your record. So it's going to give you a confirmation number. If you don't have access to a printer, which I personally don't, you can always just click print, and then you're going to want to go into the settings and change the printer as save as PDF. That way it will save as a nice PDF document on your computer, and you can just go back and reference it anytime. All right, so the hardest part is over. We filed the application, but we're not done yet. It's really important that you know what to expect after you file, because there's still steps you have to take in order to receive those benefits, okay? So you'll be mailed some really important information about your claim and the unemployment insurance program in general. Make sure that you're really reading through these documents and responding to all requests. If you miss the deadline to respond to requests, it could result in payment delays or even the cancellation of your benefits. Something else I want to highlight is that in order to keep receiving payments, you'll need to report your eligibility information to the EDD every 2 weeks. So it's not just a apply and done and you're receiving benefits until further notice. It's something that you have to keep logging on to and updating to make sure that you're meeting the eligibility requirements. Something else that you might want to prepare for is a phone interview. So this doesn't happen all the time, but it may happen. The EDD, if they need more information, if they need some additional information from you, they may schedule a phone interview. Of course, you'll be notified via mail or email about this date and time, and they're also going to send you some sample questions so that you can prepare for what the interviewer may ask you. It's really important that you make it to this interview. If for any reason you need to reschedule, you need to contact unemployment insurance immediately to reschedule, because if you miss it, the EDD is just going to go ahead and move forward based off the facts that they have available to them, and that could result in either one, your unemployment insurance benefits being delayed, or they could even be denied. So it's really important that you pay attention to the emails and the mail that you're receiving and attend this interview if you're called to. So before the interview, some helpful tips are just to review the unemployment insurance eligibility requirements. That's mainly what they're going to be asking you about, just making sure you are eligible. And then be prepared to give them some more details about why you no longer work for your previous employer. Another thing to be aware of after you file is CalJobs. So most unemployment insurance customers are required to register for CalJobs. I'd say like 99%. And this is just creating an online resume that can be viewed by employers. So it's making sure that you're adhering to the eligibility of actively searching for a job. That's one of the eligibility requirements. So if you receive notice of your requirement to register for work, you will need to take action and create your online resume through CalJobs within 21 days of receiving that notice. If you don't meet that deadline, it could result in a delay or loss of your unemployment insurance benefits. And if you have any trouble logging on to CalJobs or creating your online resume, I linked this really helpful video. It's a YouTube video about how to do it. So please feel free to reference that. Now we got to the most important part and the most exciting part, receiving your benefits. So when you first receive your benefits, or well, the entire time you receive your benefits, it's going to be through an EDD debit card. So it's not a check that comes in the mail, and it's not directly deposited into your account either. It's through a debit card that you receive, and you're going to have to go ahead and activate it. Once you activate it, you can track, use, and transfer all of your benefit payments. It's also really helpful that the payment information is updated daily, and it's available through your UI online account. So again, once you apply, make sure you're keeping track of your login information. You are going to have to log in pretty frequently to update your eligibility requirements every 2 weeks, to check your payment information. So it's not just a one and done application process. It's going to be something that you're going to be actively checking. I also want to reiterate to stay on the lookout for any requests that come from the EDD. At any point in time, they could request more information, they could request a phone interview. So just make sure that you're really paying attention to mail that you're receiving from them and meeting their deadlines. Again, if we don't, it could result in a delay, or worst case scenario, the loss of those benefits. And bolded at the bottom, make sure that you're confirming your eligibility every 2 weeks. This is something you have to do if you want to keep receiving those benefits. Finally, I have linked all of these really helpful resources. So the first one is a how to apply for unemployment insurance benefits video. This is a YouTube video that the EDD created. I've linked a version in English and Spanish, and there's more languages available if needed. So just go to the EDD website and there's plenty of videos there. There's also the unemployment insurance benefit calculator. This is a really helpful way to estimate your weekly benefit amount. I didn't talk about this in the beginning, but you won't be receiving the full amount that you were getting before you lost your job, but it will be a supplement. So this is a way that you can calculate an estimate of what it might be. I also linked the After You File webpage. This just has a little more information about that interview that you may need to prepare for, Cal jobs, all the things that you need to stay on top of once you file your application. I've linked 2 frequently asked questions pages, one just about the program in general and one about eligibility requirements. And then finally, if at any point you have any questions, need some clarification, have issues submitting, you can always contact unemployment insurance. They're available online, by phone, or mail. Again, I really recommend that you contact them online. The phone lines have been pretty backed up and I've heard it's hard to get through. And then again, with mail, it just takes time. So online is the best method there. That's all I had. I did include a references page just to let you all know where I got this information from. It's all from the EDD website. They have some really great guides there and frequently asked question pages. So feel free to browse that as you're going through this process as well. But that's the end of my presentation. I do want to check in with Ezra to see if there's any questions in the chat, and then hopefully have Hallie give us some closing words for this workshop.
So far, there's no questions in the chat.
Okay, awesome. If you all have any questions, please feel free to send it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer now. If you go about applying and have some questions in that moment, you can always email us. Our email is deanofstudents@fullerton.edu. So we're available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're checking that email. Feel free to reach out to us at any time.
We're actually getting some questions right now.
Awesome.
One question we have is, do you know if this affects FAFSA?
No, it would not affect FAFSA.
Okay. Another question is, I was let go from my previous job last year in March, and I'm not sure if I will still be able to apply.
You know, anytime you're in doubt about whether you're eligible or not, I would just recommend going ahead and applying. The EDD has a really great screening process, and they'll let you know if you qualify or not. The information that they base the supplemental income on is from the last 12 months. So as long as the loss occurred within the last 12 months, and of 3 of those months you were making more than $1,300, you should qualify. But I would say just go through the process and the EDD will let you know whether you qualify or not. It doesn't hurt to submit a claim.
Another question is, if you have 2 jobs, do you need to make 2 different applications?
That's a really good question. No, it's the same application. So the application is going to ask you for information from every job you've had within the last 18 months, whether you're still employed there or not. So you'll be able to include that on one application.
Another question is, I received a form titled Continue Claim, and I'm not sure if I needed to mail it out or do it all online.
The EDD is really encouraging folks to do as much as they can online. So I believe you should be able to do it online. If you go ahead and log in, I'm assuming you already have an account if you got that form. So log into your account and see what you can do from there. If you aren't able to navigate that, feel free to shoot us an email and I'll help you troubleshoot.
Yeah. Another question is, can you file if you are using your sick pay? I'm using what I have left over, but it will run out next week.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
It may affect the amount that you're getting in the beginning, but you will still be able to receive unemployment insurance.
And one more question. Do you know if it makes a difference if you were let go from a job instead of quitting from one?
Yes, you cannot apply for unemployment insurance if you quit, unfortunately. It has to be of no fault of your own. So it has to be a layoff, or a furlough. And if people don't know what a furlough is, it means like a temporary layoff with plans that you're going to return to the company. So you weren't fired, you weren't let go necessarily. They're temporarily suspending your employment until they're in a better financial position. So that qualifies you for unemployment insurance as well.
Okay. Another question is, can DACA students apply for this? They have Social Security, not Social Security. They have a social, but just wanted to double check with you.
Yes, you can.
Okay, and can they file even if they are still working just less hours?
Yes, 100%. Again, it will depend how much you get, depending on how much your hours were cut, but you can definitely apply. It's whether you were let go completely or you got reduced hours at your job.
Another question came in. I'm being furloughed from my current job, but I quit a job last year. Will this affect my eligibility?
No, it will not. No. You'll still be able to apply.
And then another question, can I still apply if my hours vary each week?
Yes, you can. So you'll just need to give an estimate. It doesn't have to be perfect, but an estimate of how many hours you work per week and how many you've lost.
And another question, can someone who is self-employed apply but is getting less hours because of what is going on?
You know what? That's a really good question. I actually saw an article about that. It was a how to apply for unemployment insurance if you're self-employed. I believe that you can. The details might be different. So we're going to go ahead and post this along with some other resources on our website. I'm going to try to find that article and post that as well, because it gave some more specific tips about for individuals who are self-employed. But yes, I believe you can.
And this is a good question. Do I need to let my employer know that I'm going to file?
No, you do not.
And then we got a few questions about where they can find the recordings and where this PowerPoint can be found later.
Yeah, definitely. So it's all going to be posted on the Dean of Students website. It's just fullerton.edu/Dean of Students. We're going to have we haven't created it yet, so it won't be there today, but likely by the middle of next week, we're going to have a new tab that's titled Virtual Workshops. Since this is the first of many, this will be the first one up there, but continue to check it as we're going to be updating it every week. We're hoping every Friday we'll have a new workshop. So that's where you'll find it. It's fullerton.edu/Dean of Students.
And that's about it.
All right, awesome. Again, if you have any other questions, if you find yourself struggling once you actually open the application or are going through it, feel free to email us. Unemployment insurance is also a great resource, but I have heard it's a little difficult to get a hold of them during this time. So we're a resource as well.
Thank you, Jen, so much for all of that information. I think it's very timely. Thank you to all of you Titans who have participated today, and thank you for all your great questions. Thank you, Ezra, for helping to moderate and give voice to the questions that people have been asking on the chat. I just want to acknowledge that it's a difficult time, and if you're here, it's because things are hard. And so thank you for taking the time to be here. If there are other things that we can help you with, we want to know about it. And we want to be able to meet those needs through these webinars in the future. And the way that we'll find out what it is that you want to know about is if you reach out to us. So please, please email us at deanofstudents@fullerton.edu. The way that we will be advertising these webinars will be on Instagram. So you can follow us at CSUS Dean of Students, or you can follow me at Dean Hallie H. And both of those accounts will be posting every week what it is that we're going to be talking about. And so next week, we're going to be talking about parenting and what it means to be parenting and being a student, and maybe for some of us working at the same time. So that is something else that we've been getting a lot of requests about in our inbox. But in the meantime, I hope that you're well. I hope that you and your family and your loved ones are staying safe and staying healthy. And if there's anything else that we can do to help you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a good weekend. Bye-bye.